Hey guys, you are listening to the Absorbcast, and today we're going to talk about how we ended up with our creative business. How did we get here? Where did we start? And was this the plan?
Was it?
Nope, it was not the plan, but we ended up here and we're happy to be here. Okay, so let's give a real brief sum up of our entire story here with our business, how we ended up where we're at. And it's going to be difficult to try to keep this short. I think start off by talking about our backgrounds and what we do in our company. So I'll let you start with what you do and your background. How did you end up with Absorb?
Well, that's my background is kind of everywhere. I guess technically speaking, I went to school for visual communications. So if anyone doesn't know, that's kind of a blanket term for graphic design, branding, communications, marketing. Like it kind of summarizes a bunch of different things. But I had a focus in digital design. So I really focused on user experience and user research and basically what people do in those fields. So yeah, it was kind of my background. So I guess that's kind of a long way to say, like, the reason I got started with Absorb was Austin created this terrible website.
Beautiful
and
website.
I thought he needed some help with that. So that's where I came in.
Did. Well, I knew it was bad, but I knew I needed a website. I knew what I needed to do. Back then I thought it was so cool. I remember taking pictures of the landing page video on Squarespace and sending it to everybody. I was like, look. But yeah, so my background, before I pulled you into this with you.
I think I kind of forced my way in.
You did a little bit. I wasn't sure because I didn't know what I was doing at all at the beginning. But I used to make YouTube videos, skits, comical skits, and I used to think that if they looked like movies, the closer I get to them looking like actual movies or TV shows, the funnier it would be. And this was back in 2000. I don't know.
I have no idea.
2008. I mean, I was doing this middle school. I remember, probably all through middle school to high school. And then after high school, I started getting serious because I was working and making money. I was like, I could buy better cameras. I could get better lenses. And there wasn't like a lot to learn online back then. Like there is now. It's insane now. But, and then was just making goofy skits. You had a project you needed help with, right?
Yeah.
And
actually, I had a couple projects in school that I needed your help with.
Yeah, and which was funny because in high school, I never did the video projects for people. Like anyone that was a group project with me, I either didn't do nothing or I didn't help at all make a video or show up in the video. But anyways, helped you with your project, and we made it a comical little thing. And someone in that class, I didn't have the website then, did I?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Did I in the logo and all?
Yeah.
Okay, so all I had was I was going around making little, I don't know what you can call them, reels or highlights. They were just montages of, I was trying to make beautiful imagery. So I've always been obsessed with image quality. And I thought, if I'm not filming things with my friends right now, I need to be practicing so I can make our next skit look better. So I was learning how to color grade, how to edit to music. But then when we did your project, we turned it into a skit on the channel. But so it was funny. Or I thought it was funny. Some people thought it was funny. But
my whole class laughed. No one else did a video for that.
Oh, really?
Project. No one did.
So,
and I don't think anyone was expecting what we created out of that.
So one of your friends in that class knew, or can you explain that connection? How we ended up with our first large client?
Yeah. So one of my classmates in design school, she had been doing some freelance work for this really kind of medium-sized company. I guess they were probably a small company at that time. And they knew that they needed a video. They didn't really know what they wanted or how long it needed to be or what the scale of it was going to be, but they knew they needed a video, and this person recommended us for some reason.
Which if you had seen the video, I don't know why I would have got recommended for the job. To be honest, they probably were, they were fairly new, and I think they were looking for someone affordable too, but they also really cool. I remember they'd mentioned something along the lines of wanting to grow together and take a risk, which ended up being just life-changing.
And the person that actually owned that company really, like, she took us under her wing. Like, we were she really became like a partner.
She
for
was.
us
She
and
was
mentor.
definitely a mentor for us.
Yeah.
We learned a lot. She taught us a lot and gave us a lot of confidence. She had a lot of faith in us. And well, we did that project. That project, I remember we were still doing well. Before this, we got into weddings.
Yeah.
Before this, so we were doing wedding films, and how we fell into that was, a friend of mine, just was Jordan Helvey. Shout out to you. Kept wanting me to do his wedding. I worked with him at Lowe's. I was working at Lowe's, and I was in school at the time too. And there was no idea of like a future and doing any kind of exchange for videos and money was not a thing in my mind. And then when he started asking me if I'd film his wedding, I'd heard of wedding films because I'd seen a few here and there on YouTube, but I didn't think I could ever do that. And he kept pressuring me to do it, And I kept saying, no. And he's like, you're doing it. And then I did it. It turned out okay. I was pretty confident with, I mean, there's nothing I create that I'm 100% happy with, but I remember being like, okay, that was something that I could probably do again. And then after we posted that, people seen that, we got referrals, started doing more weddings. So anyways, back to where we were.
So that was 2017.
That was 17 when we did Jordan's?
Yeah.
So then, okay. So it was about the same time then. 2017 is when we started.
So 2017 was when we did Jordan's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
2018 was when we got our first client.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So after that, then we were doing weddings, and then we had another wedding gig in Florida. Mm-hmm. So we went down there and we took a couple of days vacation too while we were down there. But then we were also scheduling interviews for this other bigger project for that bigger client while we were down there. And that's when we started to figure out, we got all these names and numbers, and we were, you were running producer role in this whole thing.
I was not prepared for that.
Yeah.
So that whole project, we'll have to do a whole separate video just about that project in general, because that was just, I don't know how we pulled through, honestly.
I don't know.
Yeah. So this, we later found out, we didn't even like screen this client at all. So our first client, like we were just like, wow, yeah, we can make money doing this. Let's do it.
Yeah, we had never even had an inquiry from a client this size to do anything like this.
Nothing.
Video related.
And so when we first met with them, we were kind of like making up the process as we went. Like we were, we were acting like we knew what we were talking about and whatever. And I remember we met with them at Starbucks, and we had like a printed out proposal that we took with us, and like we scoped things out, and we were, taking notes and acted like we had all this figured out. And they knew that it was our first project too. Like I'm sure they saw straight through that.
They were awesome though. They definitely, it was a really good partnership throughout that whole project.
But so I guess technically they ran producer role, because they came up with all the people that we needed to interview, and they really figured out like what the messaging was inside of the video.
Which we worked, if I remember right, on that one. I know we did a few for them, but on that first one, we did work together on the type of questions with them, like what to ask, how to navigate these interviews to get the answers that we wanted. Because there is a game there with interviewing where you want it to be organic, but you also need to go along with what you're trying to portray. So you got to ask the right questions in the right way. We do a whole other video on that, how to do customer testimonials and properly work through interviews for. Anyways, but I'm going to go on a rant on that.
So when we were in Florida for a wedding, which was like also the first time we had ever traveled for a wedding, so it was like kind of two birds with one stone. Like we got to travel out of state for this big wedding, and then while we were there, we were working on our first like corporate project that we were doing, and it just really felt like everything was kind of falling into place. Like we had no idea what we were doing, but it just kind of really felt like, oh my gosh, like this is a real thing. But I remember in the hotel room, I woke up at like 7 a.m. to start calling all of these people. The client had given us a list of names and phone numbers. They didn't give titles. They didn't say where any of these people were from or anything. And the first person that I called, I remember an assistant picked up the phone, and they asked if we were calling for the CEO of this like giant, huge, like international corporation. And I repeated the name, and they said, yes, the CEO. And it's like, I guess so. And sure enough, this whole thing was a list of like 15 or 20 CEOs, presidents of huge international and like nationwide corporation.
I
It's
remember
like
waking up to you
gigantic.
on the phone and you were like, do you know who these people are? I
Yeah.
was like, no, I figured these were just customers, or
Yeah.
I knew they'd helped with some other stuff at their business, but we still weren't fully, I know I wasn't fully understanding what their business, what they even did at
Yeah.
the time. We understood what they were trying to do with this project, but I didn't understand what their day-to-day was like. And so, which was another just immaturity thing in our business where we
Yeah.
should,
Yeah, we
there was a
should have
lot we
found
should
out.
have known by then. So what year was that?
That was 2018.
That was 2018?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we traveled around everywhere just shooting interviews with all those people, asking questions, getting the right B-roll.
That one project, like we were in Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, all over Indiana.
Mhm.
Like we had interviews with people everywhere.
I feel like it was like every week I had 2 or 3 interviews to go do for a while.
But also at that same time, that was when I graduated design school and I had my first like full-time design job. And so you were doing a lot of this by yourself.
Yeah.
Like I was coordinating on the back end, but like you were on site by yourself
And I
doing
was,
all this.
I do this today. I operate bigger than what I am, where I'm bringing all this gear. I hired a few people here and there to come help me. And then,
Yeah.
but I didn't know a lot of people then. And we weren't working that into the budget to
No.
hire the help we definitely needed then. But I remember just carrying bags and bags on my back and wheels just rolling around Indy and stuff. Like it was awful. Going up elevators and asking for people that, and I don't know if it was because I looked so young at the time, but I remember people like asking like, "You're here to talk to whoever,"
Yeah.
and then it made me more nervous. Like, yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah. And then doing that video, there was a big premiere event for that. It was a commercial. It was a
Yeah.
long video. I mean, what was it, like 2 minutes? 3 minutes?
Yeah. I think it was 3 to 4 minutes. Yeah.
And it was a huge event. I don't know if you want to drop names or where it was or how it was hosted or anything.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It was just, it's a big formal networking event with a lot of really big business names.
Yeah. And that made us even more nervous because we didn't even know that.
Nope.
We didn't know that till I was done.
We had no expectations. They told us that the party was at an estate. And so we were like, okay. And then we roll up and there's a gate code to enter. And this is like it's brand new to both of us.
Yeah.
Like we pull up to a mansion with a party house in the back.
And he has there's a gymnasium in the back and a theater with, and multiple projectors so you can watch from multiple angles. They had a stage set up, and they were premiering just our video.
Yeah.
That's all it was for.
And they asked us to put our logo up like on the screen.
Oh,
yeah.
It was
crazy.
But that event really set us off with our confidence. We knew our capabilities. We worked further with our partner on that, and we did a lot. We accomplished a lot on that. But I remember being asked to speak there too, day of.
Yeah. That wasn't even just day of. That was like 10 minutes before.
Yes, I was so nervous too because I knew it'd be good for us, good exposure. So I was like, I did absolutely everything in me, just did not want to speak and say no and fight that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a plan to go up there.
Oh yeah.
You were going to speak first, right?
Yep.
And I was going to speak second. So we like planned our lines. I don't remember what they were. But,
I don't know.
But then I remember when we went up there, the mic ended up being passed a different way and I was on the wrong side of you. So I was like, oh crap, our lines no, I was supposed to speak first, right? And you were speaking last. Because I spoke last, right?
No, it was the other way around. Because you ended it really like awkwardly and you just handed the microphone over to me.
Yeah. So anyways, I handed the mic down. So I had it first before you. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember like my mind went blank and I was like, we made this, pointed like up over my head at the projector, the video we just shown. And then what did I say after that? I was like, we made this. I think I thanked everyone being a part of it. That was it. And I just handed the mic to you. I remember everyone laughed.
Yeah.
They were laughing because it's so awkward. But
and then I felt like I had to save our potential company's
I knew you had to.
reputation at that point.
I'd rather be laughed at than what it would have been worse if no one laughed at me.
That's true.
It would have been worse. But since they laughed, that moment before that when they premiered it and then everyone applauded at the end. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was a really emotional moment because it was like I never really created anything that ever been in front of people and praised. I mean, you post YouTube, maybe 10 views or anything, but that was a really awesome moment. Then after that, we met a lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
We did that 2 times, 3 times we did
3
an
times,
event where they did the whole premiere of our video that we created for them, and we meet some people, and it would lead to other projects. That really launched us off right away. That really did.
It did.
In a lot of ways. Because then during those interviews, when we were out meeting these people, we were handing cards out left and right, business cards. And we formed a few partnerships throughout there that are still ongoing. And then when did we start getting serious about the design side of our business? Because we are Absorb Studios now and no longer productions, but we'll get into that later. But
so when we first started, we were Absorb Productions. Like that was the name that we had. That was the name Austin wanted. He wanted to stress the video side. And
there was only a video side then.
I'm kidding. So we were Absorb Productions at first, and I made this really. It was a cool logo, but it wasn't a brand. Like we had we had nothing established of like what Absorb Productions was.
I was over your shoulder the whole time on that logo. It was it was what I wanted. It was
definitely. Which it was a cool logo, but like I said, I mean, it wasn't a brand.
I know you said that for years.
Oh, I know. I was so fed up with it. You wouldn't let me change it.
That looked cool. I liked it, but I knew.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So I started. Let's see. I think the design services started with one of our corporate clients that we got from that event. Because they knew that I was a designer, because they pretty much all of our clients knew that I was not full time with the company.
Well, you helped out in the videos with the like logos and those little things, those little assets in the videos.
I did all the lower thirds,
with that. Yeah, the lower third stuff, all that stuff.
Man,
you helped with.
I forgot I did all that.
So like that really tight.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess technically it started then, but we didn't start advertising design services until I think it was 2019. Because that's when one of our corporate clients that we got from our first client, they asked us to create a portrait of their international founder, which was the weirdest thing.
Wasn't a portrait of them made out of portraits of him?
It was, yeah. It was like 3,000 photos of this person, and it was a portrait
photos of himself that came together to make.
It was a mosaic is what it was, digital mosaic, and it was the weirdest thing. That was our first design project that we got as Absorb. And then that same company, we were doing a lot of like video editing and things for them, and voiceovers. They said that they liked my voice.
Oh yeah, that was the whole thing.
That was so weird.
You did a lot of training videos and stuff on.
Yeah, that client threw us into a bunch of projects that
a lot of weird stuff, like different stuff.
Yeah, like they knew what we were capable of and really tried to force us into these projects that kind of pushed the boundaries of what Absorb actually was.
It made us think more, because I was just as busy as you were, and you were just as busy as me with the design stuff they were giving you, and I was doing a lot of editing and video shooting stuff for them.
And that was one client.
Yeah, and then I think we started seeing social media's always been a thing, and this content in general is so much more than just video.
Yeah.
And was it 2019 when we started to really start pushing toward not just video production? We were doing more full service stuff.
So 2019 was when we technically became a full service agency. And I think that was the same year we started working with like nonprofits and stuff too. So we really started trying to get the Absorb name out there. And then we landed actually a branding project for a new company that was starting in our hometown. We saw that this new business.
Totally forgot about all that.
Yeah, we saw this new business posted in Facebook that they were renovating this building, and they had so much potential, and it was going to be a one of a kind thing. Like there's nothing else in the country like it, and so we just shot them a Facebook message and said, hey, we're looking for this kind of project to put in our own portfolio, and we told them that we would do it for free just for our portfolio, and they paid us, I think it was like $3,000 for their logo or something like that.
Just for the logo? So I think we did more later.
Yeah, well, we did their website, and then you did a launch video for them, and we took photos, and it was a whole thing. I think
that was a ground up, like their first experience. Like really, we built, we started them up from nothing. Yeah, they had. And I think it's when we really realized what we can do is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And somebody can, you can have the bank account, you can have the name, the LLC, and buy the building, but you don't have the brand, and you got to start somewhere with that. And it's kind of annoying when you have to go to all these different places to get it all set up. And when we did all that for them, you built their logo, their website. We got them a launch video, had them started on social media in that way,
Yeah,
just
photos, everything. Yeah. We literally did every creative service you could think of. We did
Yeah.
all the copywriting for their website and everything. Like, that was a lot.
I mean, just that's insane. I think, like, looking back now to see how then we just thought we were doing we were doing what we just do.
Yeah.
But now it's just thinking like that's pretty powerful to just start up, and we can get you going that quick.
Yeah.
And get that. And then
so that was, I mean, I guess if you think about it, like, we kind of, Absorb kind of started opposite of the way most like small creative agencies like this start. Like, we started with the giant corporations and then went to small businesses the next year.
Yeah.
So
it is. Yeah, we worked backwards in that way, but it gave us the confidence to really just to do all this stuff. But yeah, I think that was our first realization that we are more than just a video agency, a video production company, that we're more of an agency, where we started bringing on more help later, doing more of this stuff, which I don't know if you want to go into that right now. Or
no, I think we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So at this point, we talked about 2017 was our first wedding and the year that like we made the logo and all of that. 2018 was our first like big corporate client. 2019 was when we started offering design services and started working with more like small businesses. Well, we had the big corporations early on in the year, and then started working with more small businesses towards the end of that year.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2020 was when weddings really, really picked up.
Yes.
So the end of 2019 was when we started getting a bunch of weddings all booked for 2020. And so we knew that we needed to separate Absorb Productions, the corporate side, from all the weddings and like personal services that we were doing. And that was the beginning of 2020. We launched Memories,
which fun fact. Memories was what I was going to call Absorb to begin with, because we were starting with the wedding stuff, but I knew I didn't want to call it Memories. I like the idea of Memories, but I didn't want to corner ourselves in the name of. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but yeah. Anyways, we started Memories, and that was only. It was only weddings, engagement photos, family photos, portraits, family portraits, because we do corporate headshots still. That still falls under Absorb.
So at that point, we had Absorb Productions, which was technically our B2B, so business to business services. Memories was our B2C, business to consumer services.
Yeah. And then we did that. How long have we had Memories now?
We formed that in 2020.
Okay.
So 3 years at this point.
And then that kind of takes us up into this past year, right? Too.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of quickly summarize the last 3 years.
There's so much there we're jumping over. We're just
So we'll have to do a whole other episode just about Memories and what that did. But it was a smart business move for us to separate them.
It made so much more sense, because it was weird when we were doing those bigger video projects and seeing weddings on our portfolio and reel and stuff.
Yeah. So 2021, I think, was when we started to realize that like Absorb Productions, the name was kind of backing us into a corner. 2020 was our most profitable year that we ever had at that point. But most of it was coming from weddings. And then 2021, after we separated Memories and Absorb, we saw that Productions was actually more profitable than the wedding side.
Well, it was way more profitable. But when you looked at the time, we were putting so much more time into Memories. There's so much time. Yeah.
And so 2021 was when we had weddings literally every weekend, and sometimes multiple weddings in one weekend.
It was awful. It was
someone we were traveling for, and
it was. I just remember like trying to stay organized with files, hard drives, and because there's a lot of footage to come back
and
with
photos.
Yeah, but I remember I don't remember the exact math, but I know it was like Memories was way more than half, and I think Productions was like 30% of what we were doing, but we were making exactly the same amount that we were on the Memory side, which was over 70%, whatever the math is of that. Like 60.
Something,
60%. So yeah, and that's where I was like, whoa, like this doesn't make sense to be focusing a lot of time on this. We weren't even that fulfilled doing them. At least it was satisfying to do. It feels good to do them and send them off to our clients, but it just it became so much work. The stress level on that, where
Yeah.
we could put a lot of time into one effective video for well, that's where we talked about where we don't feel like they're clients. They feel like on the Absorb side, they feel like partners.
Yeah.
It feels like partners, and working with weddings, they feel like clients. It's like customer service.
Exactly. I was about to say the same thing. So with Memories, we really felt like we weren't working to produce work that we were necessarily proud of. We were working to
Mhm.
produce work that made people happy, which is good. Like all of our work should make people happy, but it really felt like we were working at this customer service role. And it
Yeah.
really got to the point where like I was the one managing all of our weddings and everything. So I had parents coming to me, and like every time we finished a wedding, I would have at one point we even had guests that were reaching out asking where photos were, and it was
Yeah.
just it became way too much to manage on that side of like
It's a lot. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that more in depth later on.
yeah.
On we got a lot of stories there, a lot of stress, a lot of stories, just good times, bad times, but the bad
Yeah.
times always seem to outweigh the good times during that.
So 2021 was when we booked more weddings than we ever have in our whole life. Like, it was crazy, but we were so drained and so burnt out. So we made the decision that 2022, going into that year, we were not going to book any more weddings. We were going to finish out the ones that we had, but we just weren't going to book any new ones.
Mhm. Yeah, that was such. I was scared to do that because it is a lot of income on that side of the business. We're just shutting down, but it felt so good.
Yeah, it
It
did.
was such a relief not
Yeah.
having to. I mean, to finish up the last one and just be done
Yeah.
is nice. I mean, no offense to anyone who does weddings or anything.
It just
It-
wasn't for us.
No, it takes a certain person to do that stuff.
Yeah.
They'd probably say the same about the stuff we do.
Plus, I mean, going into 2022, this is just a personal thing, not really related to Absorb, but I landed a really big full-time job at the beginning of 2022. And if we had still been doing weddings at that, like there's no way I
No.
would not have been able to manage that. Like it was
No.
crazy.
No way.
Absolutely crazy.
Weddings are, and that's why I said we can go into this night again, but
Yeah.
it's more than full time. I can't even count the hours you put into just talking to the couples,
Oh,
even up
man.
before the day. There's so much planning, and
Yeah.
especially when you're doing photos and video.
Yeah.
There's so much to coordinate.
Just a lot.
Um,
So 2022 at
2022.
this point was when
I almost said this year, but
No. 2022 was when, first of all, we stopped doing weddings altogether. We did our last wedding this past summer. So nice to just deliver it and know that there's no more. We're not doing any more weddings anymore. But so 2022 is when we finally decided like Memories is done doing weddings. But the Absorb side, we knew that the production's name was holding us back at that point from the other services that we were offering, because it was confusing for people to look up Absorb Productions and they see, oh,
yeah,
they're more than just video. They do, branding and web design and all this other, marketing, all these other things that we offered. So we made the decision at the beginning of 2022 to basically pause the majority of our client work on the Absorb side so we could focus on Absorb as its own client. And
which
with
has always
that-
been our issue.
yeah,
It's always been our issue because we can help create content, promote other businesses, but we never had the time to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Which just never made sense, that we needed to start prioritizing ourselves and step back and look at Absorb as a client.
yeah,
And it may not, well, I'm gonna go down a whole nother
yeah.
but
It's basically with Absorb, like we knew that we had this big vision of like what we want Absorb to be in 15, 20 years, what it could possibly be. We knew what that vision looked like, but the Absorb Productions name was gonna hold us back from that. So we spent 2022 talking to lawyers and getting legal advice, and we finally decided to set up Absorb Studios, which is a parent company, and then we formed Absorb Productions as a child company underneath of that, Absorb Experience, and Absorb Communications. So now we have Studios, Productions, Communications, Experience, and Memories.
which it all makes sense now. Yeah, Memories still exists. We're still doing family photos, engagement photos. We'll do. It's just the weddings themselves, because we do enjoy doing the photo stuff. We
Yeah.
enjoy the family photos. And
It
all
gives
of
us
this.
a different kind of creative outlook. Like
Yeah.
it is nice to just like, pick up your camera and say, oh, I'm going to go take photos of this family just chilling and happy kids. And
it's not super stressful, and it kind of takes you back to the arts of it.
Yeah.
What brought you into it. And that's something we can talk about too later. It's like how we came into this as a hobby and an art, and how do we keep that separate, or do we?
Yeah.
Then and then you came up with the brand, the new brand, Absorb Studios, which I love.
It took us a while to land on that.
It did. Mainly because of me. Right? I'm picky.
You really wanted that old logo.
I knew it was okay getting rid of it. I knew I trusted you with that. You're the professional in that field. So whatever you said, I knew was going to go at that point. I was like, I just got to let go of it, But I thought I wasn't going to be super happy with what we get or what you would make.
Oh, thanks.
I knew you'd make something good. I I just didn't think I was going to like click with me. Because I was like, well, it's hard for me to separate I like this polished, mature looking video side, and then try to keep it. I don't want to go into the whole brand right now, but anyways, you found a good balance, and I really love it. I'm super happy with it, and it's something that I didn't think could ever. I didn't think it could exist, and I could feel this way about it. But
yeah, we'll have to do a whole episode on just the brand, because just finding that balance was really difficult, because we are a full service marketing agency. That's what we are. We don't advertise ourselves as that, because marketing agencies have a sort of stigma about them that we don't really agree with. We call ourselves an anti-agency. But with that, like if anyone were to look up, any marketing agency out there and compare the brands, they all look pretty similar.
Yeah.
Marketing agencies do a really good job at making sure they are doing what's trendy or what's popular at the time. And because of that, they all look alike. And we knew we didn't want to do that. So
that's what I was afraid of. I'd seen all these other agencies, and I knew what they were going for. And that's what I was afraid of. We were going to be close to that. I don't think we are at all, but, so that's where we're at now. And I think it makes a lot more sense. Also, somewhere in the timeline, we started working with a lot more help.
Yeah.
We get a lot more help on certain things. It's not just us that do everything now.
No, we have 10 freelancers that we kind of cycle between depending on what skills we need for the projects. But
yeah, I think we got good relationships with other people, other businesses, and we all help each other out. Yeah. But I think that's not everything, but
that's the very condensed yet still long story of Absorb.
It's we're just talking about it. Just thinking back, I'm thinking of the journey here, and it's been.
Yeah.
I thought it feels long, and then it doesn't at the same time when you just talk about these stories. But then we made it sound really short. But there's so many.
I don't know how long we've been recording. It feels like it's going to be a long episode.
But I feel like if this is whatever, an hour or so long. It didn't take us an hour to get to where we're at. No, this has been years, and I think we're finally at that point we want to be, where we can start seeing our future, see the path that we want to go. Because there's been a lot of just kind of, climbing and going up a ledge and looking and not really sure which direction is up, I guess. But I think we now know our path.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is like we were climbing that stairs, as you said, and whenever we got up to the ledge, we knew the type of work we wanted to do, or the type of clients that we wanted to have, but we didn't quite know how to get there with the relationships that we had with all of our other clients at the time. Not that was a bad thing, but it was just, we weren't really sure how to build that reputation to go to the next step. And I think, branding as Absorb Studios was step one in that right direction of just kind of creating that new foundation for how we'll move forward now.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to it, and I'm super excited. And we will be doing more episodes like this, and we're going to dive into a lot of the things we just glossed over. Really.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this one. We will talk to you guys, or you will listen to us talk in the next one.